changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark, and it's Friend Friday on the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast. And that's when I like to introduce you to some of the interesting people who have written stories for us. And today I want you to meet Cynthia Graham because she has figured out a way to travel all over the world at very little cost. And I was just fascinated by it. So Cynthia, and I know you go by Cindy. So Cindy, welcome to the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for having me today.
I would love to talk about the story that you wrote for Chicken Soup for the Soul, Step Outside Your Comfort Zone. Listen to the title of this story, Broke and Traveling the World. What an accomplishment. So tell us, how did this whole idea come about?
Well, it's really two things. One, I was out of work and I was trying to decide if I couldn't find work, what do I want to do? And my passion is travel and writing. And I thought, well, travel writing is a natural. But I have no money, so how am I going to do that? So I thought, well, what options do we have? And I stumbled across, someone suggested house sitting, and stumbled across that, and it's been a miracle for us. It's allowed us to go a lot of really, really neat places.
Yeah, I mean, in your story, you listed all of these incredible places. So how did you learn about house sitting? How did you find your first assignment? Like, how does one actually pull this off?
There are actually quite a few house sitting websites now that people list. You know, people who are going on vacation, they'll put a listing up, and then you can read it and see if it's a good match for you. But there was like, half a dozen that I looked at. And then I found one that I really liked the interface on the website. So I started looking at it, and I applied for one that was very close to where I lived, and they were looking for someone who had border collie experience, which I had. I've had 2 border collies. So anyway, it was a great match, and so that was our first house sit, and it went so well. We're like, okay, we can do this some more, and kept looking at the new listings to see where we wanted to go next.
So do you find that a lot of the listings, like a disproportionate number, are from people who need a dog or cat sitter?
It's really 99% probably pet sitting. The house is just extra, but it's really about pet sitting.
And that kind of makes sense, too, because then it doesn't matter if you don't speak the right language, because the dog or cat won't really care that much.
Well, actually, when I went to Norway, I had her send me words that she normally uses, like food or time to eat or whatever kind of words they use, like cuddle time. She even had a word for cuddle time. And so I had about 24 words that I learned before I went. But that's not a requirement for all house sits. But, the one we did in France, they spoke English and French to the cats. So it really didn't matter. But some of them, I like to learn some of the words so that they know what you're talking about.
I guess that makes sense. Like, I know when I sit for my daughter's pug, I don't ever have to worry about letting her off leash, because as long as I say the word treat, even if she's like a quarter mile away, if I yell treat, she comes racing back. And so you're right. Some of those words are really, really useful.
Oh, yes, definitely. It makes it so much easier.
So you started off in the United States, and then you started traveling in Europe. So where have you been in Europe, and how did that all get started?
Well, after we did about eight or 9 sits in California and Oregon, I love going to Europe. And so I started looking at listings in Europe. And I applied for one in Oslo, Norway, and she accepted us almost immediately. She was so excited about, because you write like a cover letter talking about your experience and your love for the animals and love to travel. And she just was excited to meet us. And so that was the first international house that we got. From there, it just kind of snowballed. We got a 7-week house sit in London, and then a 2-month house sit in Zurich, Switzerland. And so we just, as we went, we filled in other house sits. I don't recommend this for everyone because it really does take a lot of organization. But we just filled it together, and we ended up going to 11 countries. 7 of them we house sat in.
In your story, you said that you've taken care of 2 goldfish, 12 cats, and 14 dogs. And I imagine that might have grown in number since then.
Yes, it has.
That's really great. That is, and I know you've become friends with some of the people you house sat for, and you've been invited back just to be a regular guest.
Yes, we're currently on a house sit in Asheville, North Carolina for 7 months, and it's for 2 Great Pyrenees dogs, and they're like big polar bears. But after that, we've been invited to go back to Rome for 2 weeks and to Oslo for a month. So those are, when we're done in Nashville, that's our next trip.
That is just incredible. So you pay your airplane travel, right? And you buy your food when you're there.
Right.
You're there free rent. They're paying the utilities. You're just paying airplane travel and food. That's it.
Exactly.
Wow. That is really incredible.
And some of them even let you borrow their car. So about half of our house sits, we had cars, which really we were able to go and, explore different areas really that you couldn't get to just by bus or train. But so, I mean, there's a lot of trust in this, but it's on both sides. We have to trust that they're real and we trust that they're real. And what we normally do is we have a video conference before they ever select us in most cases. So you get to kind of meet them as a video chat before you actually decide that you both want to do a sit together.
Do you think you're going to keep doing this for many more years?
Maybe 1 more year, but then we kind of want to, we want to get our business running, and so it kind of depends on how successful we are in the next couple of years.
Yeah, I know you have a bunch of different travel-related businesses now, and I know you have your blog, which is called Blue Bag Nomads, and it's doing very well among travel blogs. And I know your husband is a photographer. So what else?
Right.
What else are you guys doing? And do you do some of this work? Are you kind of double working when you're on one of your house sitting assignments? You can actually get some work done in your businesses.
Absolutely. We write articles for, like the article or the story that's in your book. I wrote while I was in London. So, and I just finished an article about Graceland that I submitted yesterday, and I'm helping 2 people. I used to own a magazine, so I've done a lot of editing and layout design, and I'm actually helping 2 people publish their books right now.
So, Cindy, I don't know if you want to give away the tricks of the trade to the rest of us, but do you have any tips, like a written list of tips for people who want to get into the house sitting business?
Well, I haven't gotten around to writing it yet, but on our website, we just added a house sitting tab. So if you go to our website, which is bluebagnomads.com, and go to the tab that says house sitting, it actually talks a little bit about house sitting, and there's a link on there to the website that we like to use. And if you use that link, you'll get a 20% discount. And if you email me your questions, I would love to answer them.
Your website is bluebagnomads.com. Your Twitter handle, I wrote this down, at Love Traveling Too.
Yep.
Love Traveling and then T-O. Your Facebook is facebook.com/bluebagnomads. And what about your email?
Cindy at bluebagnomads.com.
Okay, that's great. So I am sure you're going to hear from somebody about this because it's such a great idea. And our listeners are quite an adventurous bunch. They're listening to this podcast because they want to affect positive change in their lives, and they're willing to try just about anything. So I think you'll be hearing from them. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, Cindy.
Oh, Amy, thank you. It's been really fun.
I want to thank everybody for listening to the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast today. You can go to our website, chickensoup.com, to learn more about the book that Cindy's story appeared in, which is Chicken Soup for the Soul, Step Outside Your Comfort Zone. And come back Monday for a couple of stories about some really weird but magical coincidences that happened to 2 different women during the Christmas holidays.